This is enjoy yourself.
What is?
Welcome to the BigAss Poker Show, everyone. Tonight we've got a special guest, but we've also got Vegas Angel. Say hi.
Hi.
Sly Poker Girl, Heather Landay.
What's up?
Dr. Rudy. Our special guest tonight is Ken Lind and his beautiful wife, Suey.
Hello.
Hey, everybody. Hi.
Now, Ken, you not this past year, but in 2013, you got to spend some time at the World Series of Poker and live out one of your dreams. Tell us about that a little bit, sir.
Well, I've said it before. I'll try to go through it again. Many times I've wanted to play the WSOP for years and years. I kept belly aching about it, and I never went. You know, it's $1,000 and blah blah blah. And, you know, it's just I can take $1,000 and buy a lot of beer. So
That you can do.
friends of mine said, you know, this is something you wanted to do before you die, so just go do it. Just do it. So I came up and I did it, and I went all the way to the end. I never dreamed of doing that. A lot of people say that, you know, you should set your sights on the first place and just always go for first place, because that's where all the money's at, that's where all the prestige is at, that's where the bracelet's at. I didn't go in there with that thought. I went in there with the thought of, okay, I'm going to play the WSOP 3 or 4 hours. And got to the end of day one, and I was, I think, 12th chip leader.
Wow.
Out of 400, and I think there was like 80 players. They were paying 441 places. So I go back to the room that night after 15 hours of play. It was really grueling. It was very exhausting. And I lay down in bed to go to sleep, and I'm going, what did I do right? What did I do wrong? What am I going to do tomorrow? And you can't sleep. You
want to, I'm sure.
That. Oh, yeah, you want to sleep, and you can't. So I got back to day two, and I didn't have any idea at the time until I got there that there was 480-some players, and they're paying 441 places. So now my goal changes. No longer do I want to just, you know, play for a few hours or even make day one. Now I'm going like, well, let me see if I can make the money, you know. So we get down about 2 hours later, and they're down close, and they start to go hand for hand, and we never went hand for hand. I think just as they went to go hand for hand, 4 people went out at the same time.
That's amazing.
And so all of a sudden, everybody's applauding, everybody's in the money, and everybody's happy and everything. I'm going like, well, let me see if I get to day 3.
Oh, wow. So you go there with the expectations of 4 hours,
Yeah,
and now
you know,
you're making it to day
you know,
3.
Good. And so I get to day 3, and there's like 40 players, and the rest is history. I really enjoyed a lot playing with the people, especially the people I remember at the final table. You know, Dana Ott out of Colorado, and others. Dana was second place that year, and he was having, you know, fires there in Colorado Springs around the homes and stuff, and I was really concerned for him. He's a real gentleman.
Now, who's the third place runner-up on that?
That was, oh gosh, you knew you were going to ask me that, but I was going to remember, I know his name, John Hawley.
Oh, okay.
John's got a couple of
Rings.
circuit rings.
Yeah.
But he, as far as I know, he still doesn't have a bracelet, and I, you know, I felt bad for him too, because he really wanted a bracelet. He's got, you know, the rings, and that was. John.
So you had experienced players that you were up against.
Oh yeah. And
So
there was like 36 pros in that, at least 36, maybe more, in the tournament. I didn't go up against any of the pros except John, and he's a good player.
Yeah, for sure. Did you have a particular strategy, or did you just? I mean, what was your main system? Did you have any kind of?
I had taken the WPT boot camp 9 months earlier, just the time for gestation. You know,
Who instructed that? Who instructed the boot camp?
Gosh, you're going to ask me that. And now I'm an instructor for them, and I can't remember all the names. They're really good people. You can look it up on WPT boot camp online. lot of instructors. You know, they probably got 10 or 12 instructors. They
Right,
got a couple of main guys and like that.
Now, you taught the class, or you went to the boot camp?
I went to the boot camp in September of 12, and 9 months later, of course, I put on the bracelet.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Do you think that training had a lot to do with that?
Well, the training did. They really do teach some stuff in there, or I should say we teach some stuff in there that I never heard before anyplace else. It's some really good information. We start right off in the class and tell people about all in. And like one of the things that I can recall very vividly is that first of all, you shouldn't have to put yourself in a position where you have to go all in.
Not to interrupt, but a few people are saying it's hard to hear you.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
What do I scream?
No, just speak up a little bit louder.
Okay.
Yes, but finish your thought. I apologize.
No, that's fine. I'm glad you said that. I'll try to talk a little louder. I try to talk softly. I'm sorry. Anyway, we talk about going all in right at the beginning of the course, and we of course talk about you don't want to get yourself into a position where you have to go all in.
Right.
But sometimes that happens. I'll give you some examples. This year in the seniors, I lasted about 35 or 40 minutes, as in contrast to the year before. And I sit there for, a dozen hands or so, and I woke up with a pair of 10s in the hole. And the flop came down 10 high rainbow. Was one of the fellows across the table from me shoved all in, and I go, no brainer call, and he turns over a pair of queens and you get a queen on the river.
Oh.
Well, now I'm sitting down there with almost 0 chips, and the very next hand I wake up with a pair of kings. And I'm looking at my kings, I'm going like, well, at least I could maybe double up, so I'm in there. And another fellow turns over his 2 spades, and there was a rainbow flop and a spade on the turn and a spade on the river.
Oh, and off you
So
go.
I hit the rail, which, I would have played the hands exactly the same had they been dealt face up. It didn't make any difference. I was destined not to go anywhere. So you get into this position where you have to go all in from time to time, and that typically can happen in a long tournament like the seniors or the main event or something like that. Almost everybody gets into that position. And you want to be careful of putting yourself there, but if you're forced into that position, the stats show that if you go all in with the best hand, if you go all in with the best of it 4 times, you're going to hit the rail 49% of the time.
Half of the time? Almost?
49% of the time.
Wow.
Yes, sir.
With the best
With
hand?
the best hand.
Is that a made hand or just a made drawing hand?
It does, we're just talking about right off the bat, before the flop, you got the best hand. Okay? You're still going to hit the rail 49% of the time if you go all in 4 times.
Wow.
That's a stat. So don't get into that position.
You don't want to.
You don't want to get.
You want to just climb the ladder one step at a time.
Yeah, that's right.
I like that.
Just
Don't get
stack
it all
chips.
in until the river and you know you got the best of it.
Then that's different. If you got the nuts on the river, you're good.
Yeah,
Sometimes it's hard to get a bunch of chips that way, but because you don't have the home run hitting style, but which is never a good way to play, and that's how I started playing years back, just trying to hit home runs. But very interesting. Was that it was a record-breaking year, wasn't
Yes,
it?
it was. Yes.
Is it still holding?
No, this year they actually had more players this year than they did in 2013, so I lost that record.
Wow.
Sorry to say.
Well, it's a pretty mighty, 4,407. Wow, that's a lot of players.
A lot of players. I've had some folks in the past ask me, where did I get lucky? Okay, and my answer is very simple. For 3 days I played poker. I don't know how many hands an hour, but you can imagine 15 hours a day. I never got aces one time, not once.
Which might
And
help
that
too.
was mine then. You
Might
can't depend on
Well,
cards.
that's what I'm saying. That's where I got lucky.
Yeah.
Because you get aces, you push it, and somebody sucks out on you, and you're on the rail.
On the rail.
Exactly.
It's better taking little pieces of the pie as you go.
Just stack it a little bit at a time.
I know. I tell Heather in my successful tournaments that I do way better just taking pieces as I go, playing post flop, But as soon as I start getting good hands, I start losing, and it's because I get too many. I had a great tournament the other day, and I think I got pocket aces twice and queens 4 times, jacks twice in the first 2 hours. Couldn't believe it. It was just all these big hands, and I think I had the fastest finishing tournament that I've had in probably a year. I was probably the second person out in that tournament. Couldn't win with none of it.
Now, do you find seniors harder to play against, or?
Well, I think that the seniors play traditional style kind of. They're not these young whippersnappers who run out there and they're just
Bluffing away at the pots.
bluffing away at everything, and they're hammering away. I mean, it's I think that's more difficult, for me.
So would you rather play in the seniors event or the ladies event? Which
I've never.
would you rather play a table full of women or a table full of seniors?
I'm not very comfortable wearing a dress.
You can buy in, for 10 times the price. So.
I thought that was a very interesting way for them to solve that problem.
Right.
I thought that was very cool, but I've never played the seniors. I don't care whether I'm playing against ladies or not. It doesn't matter to me. You're playing against people.
You're not scared of us women?
Not
We don't.
particularly.
I personally think women either are very easy to play against or very, very hard to play against. Women have trust issues and find it's hard to get them to fold any pair. So it's harder to, I don't want to say bluff them, but it's harder to get them to fold.
Well, I think there's a lot of merit to that, and I'm tell you where my thought process comes in. It's way outside the realm of poker. When I raise children and that boys and girls, the fact is that women by nature think in the future, and men think in the present. So that's what makes the difference. And as long as you can recognize that, okay, I'm heads up against a guy. He's thinking now and here. Or as opposed to I'm heads up against a woman and she's thinking 3 hands ahead of me. As long as I can remember that that's the scenario, then I think I can play well against a woman or a man.
Right.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
So what are you doing with yourself now? I mean, are you playing regularly or?
Oh, I've played some small tournaments. The biggest ones I've been playing lately is we played the Win a couple of times, and maybe 200 players.
You said we. Is that you and your wife?
Well, she plays
So
also, yeah.
tell us a little bit about your wife. She's
2013 you were lucky in cards. 2014 you were lucky in love.
That's it.
Well, that's it. Yeah, I went to I'll tell you the story. She's gonna have
So
to sit here.
Make sure you speak up and speak clearly because the ladies listening really want to
very
know.
interesting part here. We all are interested.
I was playing. I think it was when I was playing the seniors and went out early, but I'm not really certain. But I went over to play one of the side events. I don't remember, $265 buy-in, something like that. And I sit down in seat 4, and I played. Vanelli, she was in seat 1, and I kind of had an eye on her, but I had my optics on, and she couldn't see I was checking her out.
Yes, Blue Sharks for keeping his eyes to himself.
Right.
Blue Sharks, I'm looking at the table, but my eyes are over there, right? And anyway, 3 or 4 guys kind of flirting with her around the table and everything, and that was okay. I didn't care. And I'd sit there for 30 or so hands and hadn't done anything. I woke up with an ace and a queen of clubs. I'll never forget. So I shoved. I figure everybody's going to fold and I'll pick up the blinds. Well, a couple of dudes down here in seat 7 and 8 both called. Or shoved, and they called with less. So I had them out stacked. It comes around to her in seat 1, and she hems and haws and boo-hoos and looks and hems and haws some more and looks again. And of course, I'm looking down at the pot with my head, but my eyes are over there watching her. She keeps checking out her hand, and finally she mucked it. Well, I turned over my ace queen, and she just about had a fit. And by the way, my ace high 1 took both those guys out. She had folded a pair of
So you would have
nines.
quadrupled.
I had pocket nines.
She had pocket nines and she folded
Pocket
them.
nine at 4.
And so then we went on break and we had to talk about it.
Nice.
And 9 days later we were married.
Wow.
Just 9 days later.
No, I think it was 11,
11
days.
11
I'm sorry,
days,
11
all right.
days.
That's amazing. That's, and so she used to, which tournament was this, by the way?
It was one of the side tournaments. She decided that if I could bluff her, she needed to have me in her back pocket. So
So it was in one of the daily 235 events at the WSOP?
yes.
Wow.
So you can find love at the table also, not just some skills in poker.
And then it was really interesting because later that week, and I knew she dealt down at the Stratosphere as a professional dealer. So I went down there, I don't know, 6:30 or 6:45 for the 7 o'clock tournament, and I signed up. And I walked over to Roxy's and had a bowl of chili. Well, I come back and there's 5 tables of tournament players, and I sit down at the table, and she was the dealer. And she goes like, "Did you ask for my table?"
It's fake.
I did not ask for the table. It's just the luck of the draw.
So do you miss dealing at all, or is it you're happy to be done with it?
I'm
Or
happy to be done with it.
happy to be done. It's a lot of work,
I'm
isn't
so glad I met him.
it? Absolutely.
He take me to my job and tell me you quit. And so I'm happy. I want to,
Well, cool.
I want to be out working, and now he let me play only.
So you play now.
Yes.
Oh, that's an
Very good,
awesome
yes.
story. So you guys
Yes.
both are very lucky,
Yes.
and I love good stories like that.
Yes.
So, and you look wonderful together too. So
Oh,
that's
thank
awesome.
you. Thank you.
Yeah,
Very much.
absolutely.
Are you guys going to be doing the HPT?
I'm gonna go over there for a little
Yeah?
bit. Yeah. I don't-
We'll
Not sure
we'll
what
be
day.
competing with you there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Look, as she eyes him down, she's like,
Good luck.
I was going to say that, but.
she's like, hey, Alan, what's up?
Ken's not
definitely-
scared to make the calls either. I
wanna
shoved it
see-
in night before last over at the Stratosphere with Queen King suited, and he looked down at his cards, and I can see he was contemplating it, so I kind of gave him a little help and said, "Come on, if I'm going to lose to somebody, I'd rather it be you." He made the call with Jack Queen. I had Queen King, and he turned to Jack, so I was a jack off that night.
Yeah, poker is fun. I think it's one of the more fun hobbies I've ever done that actually pays back a little bit of money sometimes. Something to look forward to. But I also go through a little bit of burnout. Do you ever experience that where you play too much? Or
No, I think when I was burned out the most was right after that seniors.
oh god, I'll bet.
3 days, and I think I slept for about 3 more days after that. So yeah, it can get to you, but the rush, you just want to go get it again. You just want to.
Absolutely.
I've got to go get a second bracelet just so I can have that rush.
Well, you can win. You can win other tournaments too. I mean, it's always good.
I actually got another bracelet from Montego Bay.
Wow,
Up
nice.
up in Windover, and that's another story too. That I'll tell you about a tournament that I had up there. It was very exciting. I sit down to the table. I was in seat 3, and I had a sit on the flop, and the fellow in seat 4 shoves all in. First hand of the tournament.
First hand. Beautiful.
First hand. So I call, and my sit held up. So I'm double chips, and everybody else is sitting there with a single stack,
So-
except him who's on the rail.
What did he have to shove? Did he have a
I-
draw or something? Or
No, he had a pair.
a pair? But
Oh no, he had 2 pair. He had 2 pairs.
2 pair. Okay.
So he shoved with 2 pair, and I had a sit, and I was double stack first hand of the tournament. Before the blinds went up, there were 20-minute blinds. Before the blinds went up 2 times, there was 9 tables that night, so about 100 players. And before the blinds went up 2 times, the dealer, whose name is Faye, if you go up there, tell Faye I said hello, and because she'll remember me, she dealt me a royal flush and quads 4 times
In the same tournament.
before the blinds went up twice.
So
I had a
Blinds
stack.
went up twice.
So wait a minute. You got a royal 4 times, or
So
the
once you win
combination?
a
A royal
bracelet, these
flush.
kind of cards come for you, right? Is that how that works? All
I don't think that's
No?
true,
Okay,
but
it's hard.
it would be nice. But
So let's say that you got a royal
this was
twice.
actually before I made the bracelet.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, it was early. It was early in 2013. But I got a royal flush, Della Fort royal flush, and quads 4 times before the blinds went up twice. I was sitting there with a stack of chips like this, and I did not make it to the money.
Isn't that weird how that works?
Well, you're so up. You're up here in cloud 9.
I love it. That is awesome.
It's hard to not spew chips when you start thinking, hey, if I could make a couple, 4 quads and a royal,
Hey, I got it made.
why can't I make this straight?
Exactly.
Very cool. That
Was 2013 your first year playing the seniors event?
2013 was the first year of me playing WSOP.
Yeah, completely. And so
Completely.
you walked in and walked out so successful you couldn't believe it.
Pretty much.
That is amazing.
Now your name will live forever on that big golden trophy.
Yeah,
Big
that
golden
eagle. That big eagle. Yeah, I love it.
Johnny Hill's senior trophy.
That's another interesting story. We were sitting there. There was maybe 7 players left at the final table, and the commentator was sitting there going like, "One of these 7 people are going to walk out of here with $650,000 and a bracelet." And I looked over at him and I said, "Don't forget my name on that golden eagle."
That does make a
And I
big
did say it.
difference.
That's exactly what I said. Don't forget my name on that golden eagle.
And you brought it to fruition.
That was kind of
Right to the front.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
That eagle was really something that was important to me.
Now you didn't get to take the eagle home.
No, it belongs to Oklahoma Johnny Hale.
Yep.
And he carries it wherever he goes and so on.
Well, so how does that work? I always wonder because I know that it interchanges year to year. So
This trophy behind
It's
you,
his
Ken.
eagle.
so it's his eagle. Your
Yeah.
name goes on it for a year.
No, your name goes on it forever.
Forever.
Yes.
So where do all the names fit?
Well, there's only 12 names on there. They only started the seniors 12. Well, now 13.
And Dan Heimiller was the last name engraved on there.
Right.
He'll be on our show soon also.
I'm sure that when he runs out of space, they're going to have to do something.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that.
It's going to be just like the Stanley Cup, for instance, and
Yeah,
they're just going to
add a bottom.
add
to
add
it.
a bottom
another.
to it
Yeah, sure.
and keep stacking it up.
Wow.
That's Johnny's wish
That
for it.
is neat.
Yeah.
Wow.
So I don't know about this golden eagle.
That's the trophy that he got his name on for winning the seniors event.
It's
Johnny Hale invented the seniors event 13
Oh,
or
so
14
only
years ago.
seniors get their
Mhm.
name on.
Right.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense. I'm
Yeah.
like going.
the seniors champion.
The thing is, it should already be full by now.
No, there's only 12. There's only been 12.
Right, but I'm
13.
thinking it's all the World Series bracelet winners ever.
No,
and-
just
Okay,
the seniors.
okay, that's neat.
So are you and your wife going to do anything like go overseas and play some, place that you've never been?
I'd like to go to Australia. I
That
wouldn't
sounds
mind going
awesome.
down there and playing the WSOP, what they call Europe, Asia.
Right. How about you? Do you want to do something like that? Or?
Oh yeah.
Of course you do.
Oh, yeah.
Everywhere you go.
She goes wherever I
That's
go.
awesome. Yeah, I love the story.
Mm.
That is fun. That's what her and I want to do someday and get to the point. I haven't ever gotten to the point where I want to just invest everything I got and try to go for it, but maybe if the cards fall in place at the right time, So just like you, and you look like a very well-deserving man for it too, because you're very, outgoing and nice, and that's good. It's good to see good things happen to good people.
I've never seen him without a smile. I guess I did a little bit, but at the beginning of the World Series this last year, there still wasn't much of a smile on your face. But at the end of the World Series, you were so
You know why that was too. I mean, with my wife dying in February, I wasn't going to walk around. I just didn't feel like. I didn't even feel like playing.
Right.
I didn't
Right.
feel like playing at all until I met Suey, and then everything changed. Everything. She put the smile right back in my face.
That's cool.
and that means a lot too.
It does,
You
yeah.
took a huge loss, and still came out a winner.
Yes.
That's important. So you said you did the WPT, or at least the boot camp part where you're training now? Is that what you're doing?
I'm an instructor for them.
Cool.
And I taught in Windover. We only had about 35 students, but I taught in Windover with Greg Raymer in May.
And Greg's a great instructor. I worked with him.
Very friendly guy too.
Yeah. There was Greg and I and Jeff, a fellow named Jeff that I know, that we all.
Jeff Madsen?
No. I don't think you know him. I can't remember his last name off the top of my head. Anyway, the three of us ran the class there in Wendover, and right after the class was over, the day later, of course, we all went to play tournament against Greg. Right after the class was over, and the tournament was over, then we carpooled down to the Millionaire Maker.
Ah,
Absolutely. So what do you normally charge for a session over where you're?
Well, Greg ran that, so I'm not going to take the wind out of his sail. You can ask him. But if I was going to teach a session of it depends on whether I'm teaching one-on-one or whether I'm teaching a big classroom full, on what the charges would be.
So if one of our viewers here wanted to get a hold of you, and that's something that you would be inclined to do if they were interested, is to do a one-on-one training?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, very cool. Okay. Well, I think that's valuable, and I think a lot of players would I think you might even find yourself being contacted.
Well, I've already done some teaching. I don't go out and bang on the doors and stuff, but if somebody comes to me and asks, I'm happy to sit down and go over them. The thing people need to look out for is their leaks.
Oh yeah.
You definitely got to look. Like Sui, she bless her heart, I love her dearly, but she's got this leak where when she gets a big hand under the gun or under the gun +1, she'll limp in open to raise. Okay?
Open to re-raise.
Or open to re-raise. Or let's say she gets a big hand and she's in late mid position someplace, and you got 3 limpers in front of her. Well, she'll limp in also, hoping to get a re-raise. And what'll happen is somebody will end up sucking out.
Right. So, but do you recommend always opening for a raise?
I recommend if you're first in, that you do come in with somewhere in the neighborhood of 3
Especially
times
under the gun.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Well,
around 3 times the big
Yeah.
blind.
3 times the big blind, but you got to play with that. If you're coming in with 3 times the big blind, and everybody's folding every time, maybe you can change it to 2.5.
Right.
If you're going in 3 times the big blind and everybody's calling every time, maybe you need to go to 4. But you start with 3 and you change
Depends
it.
on the size of the hand, kind of.
Exactly.
But
Well,
sometimes the bigger-
I never make my bet based on my cards. I make my bet based on what people are doing with my bet.
Okay.
Okay.
So if your
If you
first
start
3
making-
times raise gets folded to, you might bring it down to like 1.5 or 2.5.
2.5, something like that. But because if I change the size of my raise based on what I have in my hand, I'm too easy to read.
What I like to do is I open for a min raise almost every time, and that way I can rejudge my hand, but I'll know the strength of other people's hands, especially if I'm first in the pot. I want to know what other people have, so I want to make it depending on what I have in my position. I want to know where other people are at. So under the gun, I'll min raise more often than anything, whether it's aces or 7 deuce, whatever it is that I'm opening with.
That'd be okay. I mean, that's something you can do. What I strive to go against though is limping in
Right.
with if you're first in.
Right.
Limping in, because what you've done is you've given a no-brainer to the big blind to
And
just
more
call
value. Yeah, they don't even have to call. They just get to check and see the flop
just
for
check
free.
and see it for free. Exactly. And that's not,
Right, that's how you lose to Jack 4 and King 8. That's how you lose to a lot of stupid hands. You let them get in there very
free.
cheap, or even just by min raising, because sometimes that is a mistake of mine. I've got aces under the gun, and I'm min raising, hoping somebody will re-raise me, so that it's not too much. I don't scare anybody out, but I still give them an option to re-raise with an ace king or king queen.
Well, let me give you a scenario though. There's always the opposite side of the coin where you may have pocket kings and you might limp. True, they might suck out on you, but what if they have the jack 4 or whatever, or the king 4, like you said, and pair up that king and or the 4 or the jack and and think that they're the best because they got top pair and your head's up and it's deep in the tournament. The tensions are high. What do? They try to get you off the hand. They push it in, because people act irrational that deep. and bink, you're there with the kings. Now, yes, they can hit their second pair, but at the same time, you kind of got to let fate handle itself once in a while, right? Or no?
Well, we're back to what we talked about way earlier today already, and that is, are we going to try to double our stack with every hand, or are we going to just increase it a little bit at a time? To me, I'd rather just have that increase a little bit at a time that I'm sure of, rather than take that chance that instead of Jack 4, he's got a pair of aces against my kings.
Right. Okay, good point. That's good information, and I really like post-flop players. I know that for probably the first 3 years playing tournaments, I only wanted to play home run. And that was it. And I'd find myself always either on the rail. It was feast or famine. I was either gonna have all the chips or none. So yeah, good point. Well, that's I think. Are you gonna write any books or anything? Or are you gonna?
I've already I've got a good book written already.
Oh, you do. What is it?
I mean the title?
Yeah.
I haven't titled it yet.
Oh, you haven't titled.
I think I'm going to title it Nines in the Hole Folded.
He's talking about the hand that he's new love.
Okay. I like it. It's already got flair. Hey, it's already got flair, and I think that I'll buy that book. Especially if you incorporate, how you met her, and because she's got a great history working at Stratosphere, and she used to deal to all of us and stuff, and I'm really happy to see this. This feels very personal, and it's a wonderful story. Nines in the Hole Folded. So there you have it.
The poker universe is very small.
You see how it comes together for full circle? Everything just kind of snaps in. That's great.
Now, Ken, the World Series of Poker Final 9, the final table is going to be going on this coming up weekend. Do you have any advice to Mark Newhouse or any of the guys that are at the final table there?
I don't think that they should listen to any of my advice.
No.
I think with $1 million jingling in their jeans, they can find somebody else.
You're the kind of guy they want to hear from. You're very down to earth, and you think about what you're doing, and it sounds when we're asking you about what to do in certain situations, and it sounds like you have a good head on your shoulders, But I think when you're hungry, ultimately you find a way to get there, and you get there. It's when you take it for granted and you're no longer hungry, and that'll happen to all of us. You start, it's a great hand, I lost the best hand. Well, yeah, you're going to lose the best hand. I know when I won one of the World Series of Poker Deep Stacks, the 235s where you guys met, I was so hungry for it that I don't think I played out of position. I don't care what it was, unless it was kings or aces. I just wasn't going to play out of position. And, I dodged all the bullets because I wasn't in the hand. It wasn't until I was in position and I played it very strong, and it just carried me all the way to the end. And, I was so hungry for a title, for a winner's spot, for a big cash that I find that just staying out of the way sometimes is the best solution. Not getting the great hands constantly, the best solution. I don't know.
I got my rules that I have to follow. Rule number 1 is any 2-hole cards can lose.
Speak up a little bit.
That's right.
Any 2-hole cards can lose.
Any two?
Rule number 1. Rule number 2 is the flop will disappoint you.
Every time. My screen name, I'm going to change it to 5th Street Blues.
5th Street Blues, yeah.
But, yeah, for sure. The flop will disappoint.
Rule number 3. There's only 3 ways to play jacks, and they're all wrong.
Yeah, that's right. We should direct him to that site we saw.
Actually, I do have a couple of rules that I do go by very seriously and teach in my class, but some people decide that these rules are not for them. But the 2 that I keep in the forefront of my head all the time are, number 1, there's no such thing as a bad beat. I don't believe in bad beats. Bad beats are okay in those cash games where they're going to pay you $10,000 if if it happens. But other than that, there's no bad beat.
Only suckouts, right?
Only suckouts. And rule number 2 is I'm never card dead. I don't care if I got a 2-7 offsuit. I can shove and play it if the time is right.
That's right. Because it's your image, what you're doing with it.
Exactly.
It doesn't matter what you have. It matters what they think you have.
Exactly.
I hear you there. Very good. Very good. Do you teach your wife, or does she
Teach you?
Yeah. In a roundabout way, my question is, are you guys helping each other, or are you?
Yeah, we help each other. She has a style, and I'm not going to ask her to change her style. I have a style. She's not going to ask me to change my. Well, I'm not going to change my style. Okay, so she might as well not ask. We'll make points out to each other that, hey, did you think about this when you did that, and so on and so forth like that. Sometimes that helps a little bit. Certainly helps me. I don't think that either one of us really try to control the other one.
Right.
You got a style, you play your style.
I agree. I sometimes think that she's better than me at times, and other times it's nice to have a partnership too. Because if one of us is losing, going dry, or we're just not really getting to the end there, the other one might be, and it's kind of nice to. It's just a fun game.
It is. There's only one place that doesn't work really well, and that is if she wins, she puts all the money in her pocket, and if I win, I got to give her half.
Yeah, we've dealt with those rules, haven't we? Really?
Those are very good rules.
That's
That's
rule
rule number 1.
I don't understand them.
That's rule number 1. Yes.
Wow.
She gets to go shopping
What's
and
mine is mine, and what's yours is mine.
Something like that, yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much.
Our mothers, we're taught this at a very young age, and it's passed down
I
for.
think it's innate.
Yeah.
I think it's innate. It's just automatic. Women think that way.
Yeah, because I have my hand out when he wins.
Yes.
it's
It's
never
different.
refilled when I lose.
Yeah.
Well-
yeah.
You're not supposed to lose, Nate.
Never. But it happens more often than not in poker.
Well, that's an interesting scenario too. That's another thing that we talked about a bit in the classes, and that is that you got to set your sights at a certain level. Let's just say we're talking the big, WPT and Heartland and WSOP and things like that. The best players in the world. You can name anybody you want to. The best players in the world only money one time out of 7 or 8 times. Okay. Now, let's say they're playing 7 WSOP tournaments at $1,000 a pop. Okay. Well, that's $8,000 plus your hotel, your travel, your expenses, your food, so on and so forth. We're talking. Okay, what are you going to have there? $12,000, $15,000 invested. Okay. If you get to the money one time out of 7, all right, and that one time is the low end of the money and pays you $1,900, you just went in the hole by $11,000.
Right.
Okay, so they can't shoot for the bottom end of the scale. They have to go for
Top end. Final tables.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you're min cashing, you're not making enough to cover your expenses of the travel, the hotel rooms, the food, the valet, the tips for the cocktail waitress,
you cannot do it. You
stupid
can't
little
min
stuff
cash.
because you forgot your toothpaste, you need a new pair of shoes, you shit your pants at the final table. You got to change the whole wardrobe.
All of that.
Right.
So, how do you feel about Vegas? Do you feel like this is a good enough hub for you to stay in and play, or do you? Feel
I'm in Vegas because I'm married.
Okay.
If I wasn't married to Suey, I wouldn't live in Vegas. Vegas is way too big for me. It's just too busy and too big and too, everybody's driving 70 miles an hour in a 35-mile-an-hour zone.
And they're terrible drivers.
Welcome to the city.
Yeah, I hear you. But I decided that I love my wife enough to be able, grin and bear it.
Well, it's not all so bad.
Where did you live before Vegas?
I lived in Layton, Utah for 20 21, 22 years. That's just south of Hill Air Force Base, which is 20 miles north of Salt Lake City. Real nice area, easy to drive in, and you don't sit at a red light for 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That's awful nice.
Yeah, we have some long
I've
nights.
told my wife that I'll probably die in Vegas sitting at a red light.
Aw.
You know what I had to do today, and I'm not going to lie about this. Her and I are driving back here from the store, and there's two lights that just don't turn green. But we've learned the trick that if you get out, walk over,
Push.
hit the button, the darn light will change. I did that today.
You got out of the car to
For
hit
the first
crosswalk.
time,
Yeah.
yes.
Oh my God.
For the first time, yes. And it's
So it
that
works.
light, yeah,
Yeah.
down there.
Like a charm. Almost too
Canadian
good.
desert.
He's like running
And
back
it's-
to the car, and it's like 2
Otherwise,
seconds
we're
left,
sitting
eh?
there for 5. She runs the light religiously because we're sitting
I do
there.
run it all
After
the time.
10 minutes,
I
it's
have
like
to.
there's no cars going by. We're like, something's wrong with this light.
No, what happens at Desert Inn and Tenaya is that the
Yes.
light counts down.
It doesn't do anything.
like like it's gonna change,
Uh-huh.
and then it just goes right back to green again. So like we don't get the green light to go, and it'll go through this until somebody else triggers it. But if no one else is coming, so I just say screw it when I have the chance, and I'll go. And I'm not the only one. I learned this from other people because it's and I'm like, why are they running the light? And then I learned.
Yeah, I can understand it because I think New York must be a lot like that too. All the big cities and really big places.
This is like a
remember-
relatively small side street. That's a very small intersection right there.
Yeah, I know the one you're talking about. It is small. Back in, I think it was '69, I came back from Vietnam, and I come into Idlewild, I think it was. That was before it was renamed to JFK.
Into Idlewild.
Idlewild, yeah, way back.
Oh, well.
Anyway, so I come in there and I landed and I got a taxi cab and I'm going down the street and a taxi driver, he runs this red light. And I said, hey, you just ran a red light. And the taxi driver says, that's good. He says, my brother does it all the time. I didn't pay much attention. A little bit later, he runs another red light. I said, well, hey, you're going to get us killed. You run another red light. He says, that's okay. He says, my brother does it all the time. Go down the street, the light's green, he slams on the brakes. So what's the matter with you? He said, my brother might be coming.
Oh, it's funny.
So it's a story, but I'm sticking to it.
There you go.
I love it.
Well,
And-
it's just, I don't know. It's Sacramento. If you're on a side street and you pull up, the light relatively quickly changes because there's not a lot of traffic going that way, so you don't have to wait too long.
Exactly.
But over here,
And that's where I was used to Sacramento too. I
Okay,
lived
so
there
you've
for 3
been-
years.
Okay, I grew
Carmichael.
up there.
Carmichael.
Carmichael.
Citrus Heights.
And in North Las Vegas, by where we live, they have the sensors in the road, and it's the same thing. You drive up, and the light
Pretty much.
changes.
Yeah.
Right now. But Las Vegas proper, they don't have any sensors in the road,
Yeah, that's terrible.
and those lights stay red for a god awful long time.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
They're tempting you to run them.
Yeah. And
They
there's
are.
and there's a cop right around the telephone.
Just
Of course.
waiting, just waiting with them field glasses on, going like, "Yeah, we got another one."
Well, you know what? I'm like, anytime I want to run this light, because I only do it when it does that thing where it counts down and then doesn't change green for me, I'll just videotape it. That way, if I do get a ticket, I'm going to be like,
You can say,
check
hey,
this
this
out. Like,
This light is not functioning
it's not
correctly.
it's not functioning.
So-
I waited until it was safe to go, and I went, and that would be
And
my tip.
Sui, do you have family and kids here in Vegas?
I got big family here.
Big family.
Yes.
Okay.
Mom, my 7 sisters, 1 brother, and I got 1 daughter, 14 years old.
Oh wow. So you've been here for most of your life then?
30 years.
Wow. So you were here when the mafia ran this place. Back in the good days, right?
Back in the good days.
That was last week.
Yeah.
We're still running.
I did poker about 22 years.
Wow.
And I did blackjack 21 about maybe like 5 years before I started doing poker.
Wow. So if we said, hey, we have a home game coming up, we want you to play in it, would you show up? Would you guys show up and play in our home game?
Yes.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
You guys are a wonderful couple. and company. I mean, really, we've had a great time. I'm really, I gotta say, you know, of the people we've had over here, you guys are definitely amongst the top and most enjoyable people to talk to. You guys are really cool.
Don't take that personally, Dutch.
I really hope we see more of you guys. I do remember you
Shout out to
now.
Dutch Boy.
I'm really happy that you know, you're happy and you're glowing. So
I am glowing. Yes.
So, living in Utah for 25 years, there's not a lot of poker up there.
We play
Not
poker.
legally.
Well, that's true. They do have some poker games that they pay out. There's no buy-in.
Oh,
You go in for free, but there's a payout, and they take it off the bar tab or whatever it is.
nice.
I didn't ever play. I don't think I ever played any of those. I might have played one. I can't remember. But at Hill Air Force Base, we have a game. We had a game every week, and we just did a thing where you donate, and so everybody donates $20, and then the top 3 players, you know, split it up. But that's the way we got around that. It was a donation.
I see.
See, otherwise, you know.
It works.
So when you decided to take a WPT boot camp in 2012, did you know you were going to be playing the World Series?
No, I didn't know that at all. I actually, what happened was a very close friend of mine, his name is Burl Davis, who lives there in Layton. Burl says to me, he said, Ken, he says, I'm going to go do this boot camp. He says, I'd like you to go with me and I'm going to pay your way.
Oh, wow.
And I said, why would you pay, you know, $2,000 for me to learn how to play poker? And Burl said, well, when it's all said and done and we come back after the class, I want to have somebody that I can bounce things off.
A sounding board.
A sounding board,
Yeah.
exactly. So he didn't want to just be there by himself. He wanted, you know, and we've bounced off of each other ever since.
Right.
And
Nice.
and of course, then I went to the WSOP also because of Burl. Because Burl's the one that egged me on to go. And it was really funny because he went to visit his daughter in Reno, and he doesn't do computers very much. He came back to Layton pretty close to the time that the tournament was over, and he brought up the World Series of Poker on the screen, and he started at the bottom and started reading up the names, you know. And he got up the names pretty far, and he goes like, I missed it someplace, and he went back to the bottom and started over.
Wow.
It's a hell of a story.
Wow.
And finally, after 2 or 3 times of going to the bottom and starting over, he got all the way to the top, did about 4 flips, did a couple of yahoos, pounded his fist in the air a few times, and called me up and just in tears. He's a very nice gentleman,
Very cool.
to say the least.
Very nice.
A very wonderful man.
Tell me how you met Carrie from Blue Shark Optics.
Oh, I met Kerry just right there at the WSOP. We were just sitting there, and I walked up and started talking to him, and you know, we talked about the glasses and how they work and where he gets them, and you know, some of the things were classified.
Now, this was before you won the.
Yes, and I bought a pair of glasses from him, and I used them in the seniors, and you know, the rest is history. And then after that, I started advertising for Carrie on my web pages, of which I've got several. And
How can somebody follow you on Twitter?
Twitter, I think I'm listed on Twitter as Twitter whack KESL dot. No, wait, it's not right. Twitter whack Ken _ Lind.
Ken _ Lind, LIND.
Yes,
Okay.
and I'm in Twitter there, and I've got 35,000 followers.
Wow.
And
That's a lot of followers.
on Facebook, I'm listed as KESL Lind, and you can find me on Facebook. I also have a website that I promote. It's called bestpaintballsniperrifle.com. You can find me there. And anybody that wants to write to me about poker can write to me at poker@Lindscape, LINDSCAPE, just like landscape, only with an I, lindscape.com.
Oh, nice.
Nice,
That's
all
my
right.
site.
I'll look into that.
Yeah,
That sounds fun.
all those sites there, and I have 6 other sites also, but those are enough to find me.
That's a lot of
Your
sites.
Twitter is Offsuit Wiz.
Offsuit Wiz, that's me.
Offsuit
On
Wiz.
Twitter, yeah, that's another one. I have 3 Twitter accounts. I've got Ken__Lind. I've got Offsuit Wiz, and I've got another one called UB Painted that I use for paintball.
I'm following them all.
Now, do you play? Do you
Right.
play paintball? Do you
I don't. I've never played,
Oh,
but I sell paintball rifles.
really?
Yeah.
Very nice.
Nice.
I've never played. I heard it hurts and.
I want to try. I want
There
to wait
you
for my
go.
son to get ready. So he's only 7, but right now we're just playing laser tag. But I think that's something that he'll like to do. So
Probably.
probably your guys' son too. Maybe we'll all go sometime and give it a shot. I wouldn't mind tagging a couple.
So Ken, to the guys that are out there looking to play the seniors event that's coming up here, do you have any advice for them?
Yes, do it.
Do it.
Just do
Just
it.
have fun.
Just do it.
Just
Do
do it. That's my advice.
It's
I didn't do it for years.
It's $1,000 event. Take the time, take the money.
That's really not a bad buy-in, really.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As you can
Prestige.
Yeah, it's prestige. No, it's not bad buy-in. And as I've said, you can read it on Facebook. I'm sorry. You can read it on the internet. Or if you type in Ken Lind WSOP, you'll get 235,000 hits. One of the things I said at the beginning of that WSOP was that my goal was to play the WSOP one time before I start pushing grass up.
Pushing grass up.
Yeah, as opposed to down.
Amazing.
Okay, so I gotcha.
So, and it's in black and white all over the internet because that's what I said the first day I walked in. Why are you here? Well, I want to do this once before I start pushing grass up.
Wow. What else is on the bucket list?
Oh, I still wouldn't mind doing a parachute jump.
There you go.
But and there's a few other things. Maybe do a hang glider a little bit, stuff like
I'd
that.
love to do that.
I'd love to go live on the moon. I've told her
You'll live longer.
live on the moon would be nice, but I think right now I'm put on the bucket list a second bracelet.
A second bracelet. Well, if somebody came up to you with an opportunity to skydive, would you take it, or would you?
I wouldn't take it.
Would you?
Yeah.
So what you got out of winning 640,000 is, if it's on the bucket list, do it.
Exactly.
Just do it.
Just do it.
I like it. Because what's the point in waiting around?
Well, like one of the things is that I always wanted to go in a hot air balloon. Okay, so I won. Me and Burl, we went on a hot air balloon. We went on a hot air balloon ride.
Nice.
Went over Park City, Utah, and all that. It was a lot of fun.
What's your favorite place to play here in Vegas?
I like to play at the Orleans.
Do you really?
Yes, I like to play at the
Wow.
Orleans.
Which tournament?
The Saturday night
$100
bounty
buy.
tournament.
100,
Bounty
yeah.
tournament. But I also like the Stratosphere Monday night bounty tournament, $50.
Right.
Over there. That was pretty good. This last week I played. Of course, I got 6 bounties, so I played. For
I was
free.
one of them.
Yeah. So if somebody wanted to run into you playing poker, maybe run into a game that you're playing in. So you're saying Orleans on Saturday night you might be at,
I'll be there.
or Stratosphere Monday night,
Or Wednesday night.
or Wednesday night, the other bounty tournament. How you like bounties?
I do like bounty.
Wow,
tournaments.
I don't do good in those things.
Well, I like them because you see, you got all these people out there trying to get a bounty. Okay, I'm not trying to get a bounty. I'm just playing my cards. This is the same thing as if you're playing in the cash game, and they put up there on the screen. They say, okay, we pay, $500 for a royal flush, and we pay, so much for quads, and blah blah blah. Well, I play my cards based on what's happening at the table, regardless of what I've got. I don't try to play for those what do you call them, benefits or specials or whatever, because you're not going to hit it typically.
Right.
If you
Pretty
hit
much.
it, it's luck, fine. But to try to play for that, I remember years
Even
ago.
if it's a table share, if you know everybody in the room is going to get paid and it's been 55 days since it's gone off, you wouldn't rather play cash than the tournament, knowing that it's
No, I'll play cash, What I'm saying is I won't play for the
bad.
You won't
bad
change
beat.
your play.
I won't change my play for the
for
bad
the bad beat.
And,
A lot of people do.
yeah, well, I know they do.
It
And
looks
that's a
like they're
wrong
getting
thing
a
to do.
lot.
It's a wrong thing to do.
I
in my
That's a
opinion.
leak,
I
right?
It's
agree.
a leak. I remember years ago up in Wendover, there was a casino called the State Line. It's since changed names to the Nugget. Back when it was State Line Casino, one of the payouts, special payouts, was if you play 2-7 and win. You know, that's so stupid. Who plays deuce 7 off
You
suit?
see that on
I
high
do know a
stakes
lot of
too.
people
But
that
they
do.
do it
but-
raising.
Whoever wins with
They do it
seven
by
deuces,
raising and
5,000.
re-raising.
Well, yeah,
Right.
yeah. But you know, it's just crazy.
Wow.
So I never played for the.
It creates action. I like games like that because when I suspect somebody has that 7 deuce, I re-raise them.
Of course.
Because
Yeah.
the only way they're winning usually with that 7 deuce is if they raise people out of the pot.
Yeah.
So it makes games weaker with weaker raises. So it's more lucrative to play the cash game.
And I kind of like where I do go and play for it, or would go and play for it, is periodically the Rio has this thing where they have these envelopes,
Oh, right.
and they'll pick the envelope, and it's based on what chair you're sitting in. It doesn't matter who you are or how you're playing or anything like that. You just happen to be sitting in that particular chair, and your name's drawn, you know, or your chair's drawn. You go pick an envelope, and it can have 15 grand in it.
Oh, wow.
Well, you know, yeah, that's okay, because it's not based on your play.
Right.
It doesn't change
But they're
your
still
play.
taking $1 out of each one of those pots.
Oh yeah, and
Right.
they do anyway. So you know, the real unfortunately does have higher rakes, and I don't like
Yeah.
that.
$5 for the rake and $1 for the
Yeah.
bad beats, so $6 all in all per hand.
A little too much.
Well, that's still less than California. California is $7
I
just
know.
about
I know.
at each table.
It's bad.
And
I like to look for where the lower rakes are at, because you got a better chance.
in the Orleans. The Orleans
And
has
you
got the
told the
$3
dealer-
rake with a $1 bad beat jackpot.
Yeah, if you got a $7 rake in California, and then you toke the dealer a buck, that's $8 out of every hand you win.
Yeah.
That's a lot of beer.
Expensive.
That's
That's a lot of
takes a
beer.
lot of money
Yeah.
out of the economy.
That's right. It's supported by buying.
Anyway, so it was just some things to think about.
Well, we appreciate you coming on the BigAss Poker Show. It's already our time's up for the night. Any last words, you guys? BigAss Poker Team.
Thank you for coming on. We appreciate you being here, and thank you for bringing your wife. I'm
Thank
glad
you.
to see you again. I was wondering where you went.
Now you know.
I stole her away.
Yeah, you're the culprit.
This weekend,
I'm the bad guy.
the BigAss Poker Team is going to be taking on the Heartland Poker Tour down at the Stratosphere. So make sure you tune into our Facebook, or hopefully we'll get some side videos up on that also. So thanks for listening. Thanks for watching here on the BigAss Poker Show. We'll be back next Wednesday night, 6 p.m.
Bye.
Good night.
Good night, everybody.
Later.